chat. Share what you'd like to get from the workshop, and just, of course, tell me what your superhero name is or what you'd like it to be. We'll just add that into the chat. And also, what kind of comics are you interested in creating? Okay, so Ashima likes manga and funny comics. Cool. I'm hoping to learn more about the creation process specific to comics. I don't have a superhero name. I enjoy all sorts of comics. I could imagine writing more slice of life. Yes, story comics. Absolutely. Okay. Okay, so welcome. So this is comic strip writing. This workshop is an open forum, so we want to learn and we want to share experiences and ideas. So do not be shy. Please feel free, jump in, share with the group. Utilize, if you don't want to speak, definitely utilize the chat box. We'll be looking through the chats, throughout the course of through the workshop. Just share whatever information, ask any questions that you want, which is even great now because we're such a small group, so we can actually have like that personal private conversation with each other. So anything that comes to mind, share. Okay. I actually work for a preschool program during the day, and then I do facilitate workshops at most of the public libraries in Suffolk County and Nassau. And for educational programs. So I have my own little virtual classroom that I make up, especially since we're not doing so much in-person things, but more online things. So it kind of makes you just get a feel of being in that space, even though we're all at home. So what we're going to be learning today is what is the idea for your comic? 2, drawing your 3 frames. So you want to have your frames put in place to create your comics. 3, use basic shapes to draw. I'm not a good artist at all. My children have all been blessed and talented to be amazing artists. That has not been one of my talents. So as a writer, I've actually published a children's book and a regular grown-up adult book. And with each one of those things, I've had to have my children actually do the illustrations for me. So they did the illustrations for me and I was able to write the stories. They actually were able to make my characters come to life. But if you're not an artist, like I'm not an artist, being the writer, doing the writing aspect is always great. And then you can have either create your own drawings, have someone else create them for you. And now today, that how we live in, you can actually use all these different programs to actually create your characters if you're not the best artist. So there are a lot of different options out there. Adding in your own words. depending on what type of genre that you're going to be using or that you're going to be working on, how you kind of format your words and how you create your stories for each comic is going to be very important. Your layout, adding details to your cartoons is going to be something else that will be important to creating your comic and making it uniquely your own. And then your finished product. What is your finished product going to look like? What is it going to consist of? So each of those aspects is a key component in creating the perfect comic. So as Walt Disney would say, the way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. So Nicole, do you have any work that you're already like currently working on that you might be trying to transform into a comic?
No, I haven't even gotten that far yet.
So usually this time of year, this program I usually do with kids, and I love doing it in person because I usually will break out the different formats of how you can create your comics. So we have like our old school way that we would do with like, you know, how the newspapers were set up and how we do it. Then they have it where you kind of like have all these different diameters. And I have a couple of outlines that I'll show you in different ways that you can create your own and how you can go down the page. But before we get there, there were two really great YouTube videos that kind of just give like the fundamentals on it. So I figured we take a look at those. Hope it's gonna let me go on it. I might have to cut it and go out. Hold on. That were, let me see if I might have to go out and do it. But they were really, kind of gives you the fundamentals. One was, let's go in here and I have to just cut it and put it into the box. Okay, ladies, just let me know if you can hear it and you can see it.
Neither just yet.
Yeah, not yet.
Let me see if
But if you want to write essays that inspire, messages that forge brighter connections, and emails that get the job done, maybe you can think about more than just grammar and spelling. This sentence is wordy and hard to read. It undermines the writer's.
if I could you hear what was playing as it was playing, or you couldn't hear anything at all?
We can hear it. We can hear something playing. Yeah.
But you can't see it.
Mm-hmm.
No, and it's a little garbled.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not good. All right, let me go back to the PowerPoint because I can see it clear, but if you guys can't, that's not good.
We still see the PowerPoint, so I wonder if you like stop share screen and then start it again.
Yeah, let me try that way. Stop share. Actually, you know what? Maybe if I just go directly right over to YouTube and then that way you could see it from there, it might make it a little bit easier. Here we go. Let's share this way.
Now we can see it.
Can you see it now? Okay, great.
Mm-hmm.
If there's sound, I can't hear that.
Oh, you can't
Yeah,
hear
I
the
can't hear
sound?
sound either.
Oh, no.
No. I was wondering if there wasn't sound. I was like, is that supposed to be?
I'm going to see if I turn my sound up, maybe if it'll make a difference for you guys.
It was there, now it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
It was on the, I was there?
There you go.
Yeah, right there we can hear it.
Now you can hear it? No?
Mm-mm.
No. When you were talking, we could hear it.
Yeah.
Now?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It's just music. There's no talking, but I think the next one there is a lot of talking. So
Yeah, sound's gone again.
Yeah. It's weird.
That's a good statement.
okay, so let me just stop sharing here so we can go back to the presentation. But did you guys get the kind of like the common grasp of what the fundamentals would be when you want to start to create your own?
Yes.
To me, I think the biggest component is going to be like the design, how you want your comic to look. You know, how do you want the pictures to say more? Do you want the words to really be telling the story? Because if you go back and think about the different types of comics that you might have seen yourself, some of them not too wordy, but you know, could have some words, but the pictures are really telling the story. Then you have others where the pictures are very like not much, very neutral, very basic, but then there's more words. And it would also kind of depend on what the genre would be. So when we talk about genres, we talk about the superhero, which is going to be your superhero fiction, which is like your Batman, your Superman, your DC comics, your villains. Then you have your manga comics books, which are graphic novels, and they're kind of produced and published in Japan. So it's going to get those two very different feels from those two. Then you have your slice of life comics, which Nicole, you spoke about, kind of like presenting a seemingly arbitrary sample of a character's life that you might be discussing. Humor, the humorful comics, which are more, you know, you read them and, you know, they just make you laugh when you see the different scenarios and the stories that are going on. Then you have your nonfiction, which is about your real life scenarios that happen. You know, and then you have your science fiction or your fantasy comics, which are more make-believe, pretend scenarios. And I've actually never really seen any horror comics, but there is a genre for them and people, and it's out there. I haven't seen any, and I actually love a good horror movie, but only in daytime. But, but they're out there. So those would be your different ones that you could be working on. And then we want to talk about key elements of comic strips. So your characters, who would your characters be? So if you were gonna, Nicole, if you were thinking of characters for your, you know, your real life, your slice of life, what would be one of your primary characters for a comic, and or an idea for one?
I'm other than a person. Actually, I kind of actually wanted to do a slice of life about an animal. I'm going to be honest.
Listen, go for it. I want to hear it.
Yeah. So my character would probably be like a squirrel.
I like that. And so his setting would be like, would it be like Central Park? Would it be like a suburban area? Like what would his setting be?
I was thinking suburban squirrel.
And then his plot would be
A sort of a daily, like an everyday challenge that affects the squirrel on multiple levels.
I like that because you could make it anything. You can make it, something, a challenge about him trying to obtain food, or, the elements are changing. It's now wintertime, or, you can make it so that every single day it's something different. You could incorporate new characters in, other people that live within his, whatever his radius is where he lives, they could be bringing challenges in. So you could really take that idea and just make it go into so many different directions. I like that. So Rashima, what about you? What would your topic be for your comic?
That's harder for me. I mean, because like for me, like when I really think of comics, like other than like the manga and stuff and the popular stuff, I do think of like the stuff in the newspapers, like that I looked at with my grandparents growing up. So I'd like to do something that it's kind of short and sweet and a little memorable, but I still want it to be funny, because I think people need to laugh, especially right now. So I don't know, but I don't know. So I'm still in the
You're
thinking
still in the
phase.
planning and
Yeah.
thinking stages. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think about it too. I'm not a comic book fanatic, but I used to love the Garfield comics and just like stuff, kind of like in that light. So I was like, what could you do that would be a comic that you could then take it from a comic and make it like a movie, or make it like a short story, or like, how they like right before the movies, they do like those little 5-minute, 10-minute shorts, something like that. So I try to like think, what would be a cool character for that. And there's like so many different things. You can make an inanimate object if you wanted it to. So, just coming up with something that's going to make it fun and cool. Okay, so comic strip writing. So let's just get the real common basic questions out. Are you best at writing or better at drawing? Put it in the chat. I'm definitely better at writing. Definitely better than writing than drawing. Okay, what about, is it hard for you to come up with plots for you? I won't even say comics because you guys haven't started with your comics yet, but is it hard for you to come up with plots for your stories that you're writing, or does it come natural? Like, is it just something like you already know before you even start writing? Thumbs up if you can come up with it's easy, or thumbs down if it's hard. Thumbs down. Okay. Thumbs down. What type of characters are your favorite characters? What are the ones that you tend to be drawn to create about? Don't usually know the plot before a mode of characters. Yes. I know for me, anytime I'm going to write, like I'm currently working on 2 very different books right now. One is it's about like a little girl who's starting middle school for the first time, and she's like experiencing all these different new adventures. I always know my end of what my story is going to be and what my beginning is. I always know what I want those two to be, but then filling in that middle, like the meaty part in the middle is always my hardest. That's always what's hardest for me. So I always know how I want it to end, and I always know like what I'm going to start with. But just filling in that piece so that people, whoever's reading your work, doesn't get tired and be like, like, you know, after the first couple chapters, they're already ready to like be like, okay, this is, I don't even want to know what happens at the end. You want to make sure that you kind of keep their attention in the middle. So that's the hardest part for me. Let me see. Okay, so the comic strip creation timeline. First, no one wants to start working and you don't have your supplies already next to you. I feel like it kind of messes up your flow when you have to like find paper and you have to find, you know, if you're somebody who likes writing as opposed to using your iPad or your laptop or your computer, having to find your supplies before you even get, you know, while you're in the midst of like your creative juices starting to flow, I think it kind of breaks up, you know, the thought process. So making sure that you have whatever you need before you even get started is so key. Then you kind of want to create a numbered list of your pages. So how many pages do you want your comic to be? How big do you want it to be? Is it going to be something that's maybe just like 5 little blocks where you get to tell your story in like a really cute, quick, short comic? Is it going to be like a book base where, you know, you have like a whole book where it's telling like a story over a timeline of space? Is it going to be something where maybe you just might have one full page? You want to kind of have an idea of how long and how thick your whole story is going to be so that you can plan ahead. Planning just makes it so much easier. You want to determine the beats of your story. So is your story going to be something that's going to be upbeat the entire time? Is it going to be a story that's going to have like some really traumatic highs and some lows? Is it going to be something that's going to be funny through the whole comic, or is it going to be something that's just funny in the beginning, but then it's going to change? You know, it's going to change. You want to kind of see where the beat of your story is, and you know what's going to happen from there. You want to turn your story beats into actual panels. So your panels are basically like each one of your squares that you're going to, you know, have your picture, have your words, what you're creating. You want to try to take that story outline and then fit it into what your whole base is going to be. You want to stretch out the actions and note your dialogue. So you want to make sure that you have everything in place that goes with your pictures, with your dialogue, that it all matches up nice and neat and it's exactly how you want it. You want to make sure that when you're putting in your paragraphs and your words, that it's actually matching up with your pictures and what you have going on. Sometimes it's hard when you're trying to like, okay, you might have said to yourself, I have 5 illustrations that I want to put into this comic, but kind of the wording that I have here doesn't necessarily go with that picture or that slide. So you want to kind of change it around and you want to make it so that it fits and that the words and the pictures click. They're in sync with each other. So any questions about that? Have you guys done any writing where you're actually not even comic book writing, but just where you're actually creating any type of literature and you are having pictures or illustrations to go with it? Or are you just focusing only on the writing right now?
I have never done writing with illustration.
Okay. Shiva, what about you?
Maybe a long time ago. Like as a practice, like to help writing, you know, like as a prompt, but not in a long time.
Because I know even with just writing, even just like, you know, like little not like little novels or small stories, it's kind of hard with stories like that as well, because you might have like 2 or 3 chapters, but in between, I don't know, like if you remember reading those books like Junie B. Jones or like any of those like children's books where you might have like 2 or 3 chapters, but there's like a couple of pictures here and there. And those pictures kind of have to be strategically placed to go with the story. So they might not go with every single thing that's going on the first 2 or 3 chapters or the first chapter, but where it's positioned, it kind of makes sense with what's going on with the page before it. So it's just kind of finding that flow so that your comic and your writing kind of mesh well together and intertwine well together is key. So here, I would just take a picture of this if you want. If you're not someone who's, you know, who likes to write by hand, or if you're somebody who uses your electronics, or somebody who you want illustrations, but you're not artistic yourself, they have a ton of creating comic websites that you can use, that you can kind of go on and kind of put your information in, your writing, and it'll kind of line it up and help you kind of like put it in place. So I know the free sites would be the Make Believe comics.com, the Pixton, and the Toon-Do. But the other sites, I don't know if you have to pay for memberships for them, or you can use some of the components of it. And then after you start using more, you know, they'll charge you like, you know, some type of a fee to use it. But I know even with Microsoft Word, actually, if you have any type of Microsoft product, they actually have right in with your PowerPoint and your Excel and all of that, they have a comic creating app inside of that. So you could even try to use that, like, you know, put your information in that and see how it works out and if you like it. I actually found that by accident a couple months ago. I was like, oh, wow, it actually puts out the little tabs for you, and you can create your own characters, and you can put your story in, and you just kind of put everything in, and then it puts it together for you. So it's kind of cool. So the layout. So remember what I talked about before with your different blocks and your squares. So out of these three, and you see how they're set up. So you have your more traditional one on the end, and then you have the one that kind of like you can have like, you know, your introductory with your big picture and your words, and then the squares kind of, you know, change shape. Out of the three, which one do you guys think that you would probably be more apt to use for your work?
The first one.
The first one? Yeah.
This one looks really cool.
Yeah, I like the first one too. I actually like the second one too, because it kind of gives you that really broad one for the beginning, like to do your introduction, and then the really long one for the bottom to kind of end off your page as well. So you kind of have those, you know, your large beginning and your large end, which is nice. But you can set your own pages up like this, where you can either stencil them out and, you know, fill them in, you know, the way that you like. And it actually, you know, it kind of, your eyes kind of flow with, you know, with the boxes so that it's easy to read, which is nice. Okay, so being that we don't have a lot of people, I thought we'd have a lot more conversation because it's only the three of us. We're gonna end early, but did you guys have any questions about what we went over so far, what we talked about so far, any of this stuff, or even any comments that you might want to add in?
The first form that we're looking at now, is
Mhm.
that a certain style of comic or?
Oh, the first block?
Yeah, I mean, it looks really intriguing, but I'm wondering, is that called something in particular?
I didn't see that it was, it's kind of, when you look for comic layouts, it just kind of gives you what, you know, what, you know, kind of everybody's using for different ones. I've actually seen this first one. I don't think it has I don't have a name for it, but I've seen it more with Japanese comics and more those type of comics, like the manga, the different, not so much in our basic ones that we see all the time. The second one I see more for our basic comic books. Like you see more of that, you know, that layout with it. And then the third one, that would be more of the ones where you see where they kind of like have the, you know, the words and bubbles and the pictures kind of like more on the side, and then it kind of flows from left to right. But I can definitely see if I can find this and I can email it to you, Nicole, like the layout if you want.
I drew it. I'm okay. I was just curious.
She's like, I'm ahead of the game.
I just drew it in my notebook.
I'm like, I'll see if I can find a layout for her. But cool, I'm excited. So
I'm a pencil and paper person, so it's more likely I'm gonna have to get used to drawing whatever layout I've decided on.
I am too. I'm more of a pen and pencil person too. My kids though are with the iPads and you know, all the drawing apps that they make, and I mean, it is kind of cool. But I feel like there's just something more that authentic, you know, so authentic about you being able to draw it out yourself and to write it out and to color them in. That makes it just like, you know, just makes it more yours. So creating your own comics, like we said, can be done by hand or by utilizing a PC, an iPad, a tablet. There's so many different options now. Choose the instrument to create the works that works best for you. So you guys already have your own set style on what you want to do, which is great. And here's my information here. It's just my email address. If you have any questions on anything that I did not answer today or that we did not go over as far as the basics, email me anytime. And if I don't have the information, I will find it for you and I'll make sure that I send it to you. Okay. Hopefully when the weather breaks, it would be awesome if I could come and do it with you guys in person.
Oh, I would love to do that.
We could bring
That
some
would be a
people.
great thing.
Great.
Yeah.
I would love that. So I know that because of COVID, we were kind of like a little hesitant, but
Mhm.
anytime that you guys are ready, let me know. We could come with our supplies. We'll come with our different layouts, our different storylines. And usually what I'll do is we'll come up with a couple of topics from each one of those genres. And as a group, we'll pick and we'll start to create our own with the group.
Yeah,
Oh, I would
definitely put
love
me on
that.
whatever list it is for that one. That sounds fun.
That will be, and
Yeah.
well, you'll be able to ask questions and work together as a group if you want. So that part's
Oh,
nice.
that'd be awesome.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be awesome. I love that.
Make sure I get Nicole her layout so she could use
So I could just print it instead of having to draw it with a ruler every time.
But yeah, and then that way, you know, you can add color to it. You can change your print. You could do whatever you want with it. And then at the end, we usually share them with the group.
That sounds fabulous. I love that idea.
Yeah. Okay, so Shima, that's it for me. I don't have anything else unless you guys have questions. Any other questions?
No.
I'm
Not right
glad
now.
to the two of you. That was awesome.
Yeah, I'm kind of inspired. I kind of want to.
You
Yeah.
will listen. All you do is you just start putting down. Like if you think of like a little topic that you want to do or idea that you want to work on, jot it down. You don't have to, do it right then. But when you get a chance and you have some free time and you want to like play with it a little bit, you can. And then you work on a little bit and you leave it and you come back to it. And then you have a finish. At some point, you wind up having a finished product. You didn't even realize that you did it, and it's done.
You doodled your way into a comic.
Mm-hmm.
You could actually just do one little slide at a time. Take your time and just do one. Work on one at a time until it's complete.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm ready to go sit outside and.
Listen, the next time you grab a sun, like now that the weather's warming up, it'll be awesome. You could just sit outside. You can, it's more towards the end of the day, so it's kind of getting cool, and you could just sketch and write. So much fun.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. This has been wonderful.
No problem. I appreciate you coming on this nice sunny day, and I thank you guys for having me too. It's awesome.
We'll have you again. We'll have it outside.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Yes. Telling you. I bring snacks. I bring snacks to all of my.
Love snacks.
I'm a snacker, so I always bring snacks. But all right, ladies, have a good night.
You too.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.